Hello everyone, welcome to yet another video, and in this video we'll be discussing about some private equity terms which we come across while reading about private equity deals in articles, newspapers. Okay, so let's get started without any delay. So let's start with the basics. Pre-money and post-money valuations. Alright, so what are pre-money and post-money valuations? Let's take a very simple example to understand these both concepts. Now suppose I start a tea stall with an initial investment of rupees 500 and I get 100 shares for it. Okay. Now what is the per share value? The per share value is rupees 5. Now my tea stall is running pretty well and I want to expand it, and for that I need additional capital. So the second round of financing happens where the VC gives me another 500 rupees for which he is given 50 shares. So the new share price is rupees 10. Now how this share price is decided is very subjective. Now in the stock market, you might call this share price the LTP, which is nothing but the last traded price. So in stock market, pricing is quite efficient because a large number of investors together decide the price. But in private equity deals, as we have like 2 or 3 parties involved only, so this is based on negotiation completely. However, this then is referred to as the market price and is used as a benchmark for all the future deals. Now in this case, the pre-money valuation will be calculated as the current share price, which is rupees 10, into the number of shares which were held by the founder before the second round. So 10 into, so 10 into 100, which is nothing but 1000. So 1000 is the pre-money valuation, and the post-money valuation will be rupees 10 into the total number of shares which are issued till now, which is nothing but 150. So this comes to rupees 1500. Another formula for post-money valuation will be the amount invested by the VC, which is nothing but 500, plus the pre-money valuation, which is nothing but 1000. This also again comes to 1500. So in case of pre-money valuation, you will not multiply 5 into 100, but you will have to multiply 10 into 100, because 5 was the price when the business was started and 10 is the price now after the second round of financing. So when we are valuing our shares also in the stock market, we use the last traded price to value them, the current market price. So in private equity deals as well, you'll use 10 into 100, the number of shares where the business was started, which is 1000. In case of post-money valuation, rupees 10, the current market price, and you'll include the shares given to the VC as well. So 100 plus 150, which is 1500. So this is pre-money and post-valuation. Pre-money and post-money valuation. So let's go and remove this from the screen and let's start with the next concept. Okay, so starting with the second concept, now we'll be talking about convertible preferred shares. Kindly excuse my handwriting. Okay, so let's again take the same example. So I had invested rupees 500 for 100 shares, and now the second round happens. But in the second round, another 500 is invested, 50 shares are given, but these 50 shares are convertible preferred shares. Alright, now let's understand when the preference shareholders would like to convert these preferred shares into equity shares. Let's take the first case where in the company is liquidated. Okay, liquidated means the company is sold off for, let's say, rupees 700. The entire company is sold for rupees 700. Now in case of liquidation, we know that the preferred shareholders are always given their capital first and the equity shareholders are given their capital after the preferred shareholders have been paid off. Now what is the current stake of this VC? The current stake is 50 divided by 50 shares which is held by the VC divided by the total shares into 100, right? Which is nothing but 33%. Okay, so this will be the stake. I mean, this will be the stake when they have converted their shares into equity shares. So they'll be holding 33% of the company, right? So let's take the first example. In the first case, so the company has been sold for 700. Now let's say these guys have not converted their preferred shares. Okay, so what will happen in this case? The preferred shareholders will be given their original capital back first, 500, and the remaining 200 will be given to the founder. Okay, now let's say I decide to convert my preference shares into equity shares. Now my stake is 33%. The company has been sold for rupees 700. How much is 700 into 33%? Let's calculate this. So 700 into 33% comes to around 231 rupees. Now try and understand. If I had not converted my preferred shares, okay, I would be getting rupees 500 because preferred shareholders are given senior treatment in case of liquidation. But as I've converted my preferred shares into equity shares, now I'm at par with the founder in terms of seniority. So now it will be divided as per the stake. So I'm getting only 231 rupees. So in this case, when the company is just sold for rupees 700, it's prudent that I don't convert my preferred shares into equity shares, right? Because obviously I'll go for the higher amount, right? Why will I convert and get rupees 231 when in case of non-conversion I'm getting rupees 500? So this is the first case. Okay, now let's get to the second case. Just a minute. Yeah, so second case. Now let's say now the company is sold for rupees 1500. All right, now if I have not converted my preferences, okay, in case of non-conversion I'm getting only my rupees 500 back, and the remaining 1000 is going to the founders. The remaining 1000 goes to the founders, right? But in case of conversion, now how much will I get? 33% into 1500, which comes to around 495 rupees, or let's say approx 500. So in this case I am indifferent. See, because I'm getting 500 on non-conversion, and even if I convert it, I'm getting approximately 500. So I don't care whether I convert or not. So in this case I'm indifferent. Now let's come on to the third case. All right. Okay, so third case. Now the company is sold for rupees 2000. All right. Now if on non-conversion again, I'm getting rupees 500, right? But now in case of conversion, I'll be getting 33% of 2000 rupees, which comes to rupees 660. So in this case, it will be prudent for me to convert my convertible preference shares to equity, to common equity. All right. So let's start with the next topic. Okay, so coming to the next topic, now we'll be talking about participating preferred shares. Let's take the last example again. So in the third case, in the previous example, we had told that the company is sold for rupees 2000. And in this case, what will happen in case of conversion? So leave that all aside and now try and understand these are not convertible. Okay, these are participating preferred shares. They are a mix of equity as well as preferred shares. So what will happen in this case when the company is sold for rupees 2000? These preferred shareholders, they will get their original investment of rupees 500 back, plus whatever remaining amount is left, that is nothing but 1500. Out of this 1500, they'll be given their stake, which is nothing but 33%, as we had calculated in the previous example. So this comes to 1500 into, yeah, as we 495. So rupees 995. Correct. In the previous example, what had happened was when they had converted their preferred shares into equity shares, we had multiplied 2000 into 33% directly. But in case of participating preferred shares, they hold their power of getting the original investment back before the equity shareholders, as well as whatever remaining amount is left. Out of that, they'll be participating as well. So their stake is 33%. So 1500 to 33%, 495. So the total amount they'll be getting in this case is rupees 995. So this is all about participating preferred shares. Now let's get on to the next topic. Now coming to the next provision, which is called as Ratchet. Now coming back to the previous example. So I had invested rupees 500, for which I had got 100 shares. And rupees 5 per share was the value. Then another round of 500 rupees had happened at 50 shares, and rupees 10 was the value. Now let's say the business is going through a tough phase and we are in need of additional funds, and the third round of financing happens, but this time we are giving them 200 shares. So this is another VC, and so now the price becomes 2.5 rupees. Now these guys, these second guys, let's call them B, investor B, their stake was 33% previously. After this particular round, their stake will go down to 50 shares divided by 100 plus 50, 150 plus 200, 50 by 350 into 100, which comes to 14.29%. So from 33% to 14.29%, there is a dilution that is taking place. So Ratchet is created so that this dilution does not occur. Okay, it's an anti-dilution provision. So what happens under Ratchet is, it is assumed that investor B, let's call these guys investor C. So it is assumed that alongside C, investor B is also investing at the same share price 2.5, although they are not investing anything, but it is assumed under Ratchet that they will be investing alongside these guys at the same share price. So what happens, the share price is 2.5 rupees, their investment was 500. Okay, so 500, you will divide 500 divided by 2.5, which will come to 200 shares. So their original 50 shares will be increased to 200 shares. They will be issued another 150 shares, okay, for free. Okay, they will not be paying any money, because we are just assuming that they will be investing alongside investor C, but actually they are not, right? Now let's calculate their stake again. Now as they have got 200 shares, the total number of shares is 200 plus 200 plus 100, 500. So 500 is the total number of shares. 200 divided by 500 into 100, which comes to 40%. So in case the Ratchet provision was not there, their stake reduced from 33 to 14.29%, but as Ratchet provision is present, their stake has in fact increased from 33% to 40%. Let's calculate the post money valuation in this case. So the post money valuation in this case will be the total number of shares, which is nothing but 500 shares, into the current price, which is 2.5. So 2.5 into 500 is 125. 1.50. Okay, so let's go on to the next topic. Okay, so continuing with the Ratchet provision. In the previous example, we saw that this third round of financing was being conducted by an outside investor. But in this example, the same investor is again investing at a lower valuation. So what will be the post-money valuation in this case? In the previous examples, what we have been doing is we have been taking the latest share price according to the latest round of financing, and we have been simply multiplying it by the number of shares. So when in the previous example, the investor exercised the Ratchet provision and these 50 shares got converted to 200 shares, right? So we got the post money valuation as 2.5 into 500, which is 1250. But in this example, when the same investor is now investing again at a lower valuation, this method is wrong. Instead, what you will have to do is you will have to determine the post money valuation, the share price, in accordance with the average price of this investor, because the same investor is again investing at a lower valuation. So let's understand this investor. First of all, these 50 shares got converted to 200 shares. So how many additional shares did he get over here? 150 additional shares, right? Then he invested rupees 500 more and he got 200 shares. So 200 shares over here. So additional shares that he got, this was through Ratchet provision and this was through new investment. So the total additional shares that he got was 350 shares, right? Now what was the additional investment that this investor made? He made only 500 rupees additional investment. So rupees 500 additional investment was made and 350 shares were given to him. So what is the effective price then? What will be the effective price? The effective price will be nothing but 500 divided by 350, right? Which comes to approximately 1.42. Okay. So the post money valuation will be 1.42 into the total number of shares, which is 100 plus 200 plus 200, nothing but 500, which is equal to 714 approximately. So this will be the post money valuation. So you can see how it is different from the previous examples that we saw. In the previous examples, we had taken 2.5 as the value because we had a new investor coming in. But here the same investor is again investing at a lower valuation. So in this case, the post money valuation has to be calculated according to the average price at which this investor B has got these additional shares. Okay. So that's all for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you enjoyed it, do like it and subscribe it. See you next time.